As a president, would you worry yourself about the economy of the country you are leading? That way you can do justice to the reason you were elected in the first place? Or would you rather mess up and eventually cling on to the Constitution in a bid to change it in a fashion that suits you in a desperate bid to cover up your mess? This is rapidly becoming a normal phenomenon in the Gambia and already a normal occurrence in the broader Africa by extension. This is called a constitutional coup. But what is actually going on regarding the constitution of the Gambia being tampered with? Who is behind this dirty game that is likely to cause public tension and enrage? Let's take a deep dive and uncover this treacherous move. Let's dive right in. The Gambian constitution, adopted in 1997 under the regime of former President Yahya Jammeh, has long been a subject of debate due to its perceived authoritarian provisions and lack of robust democratic safeguards. Initially designed to consolidate power in the executive branch, it grants the president significant authority over key government institutions, including the judiciary and security services. For instance, the president can unilaterally appoint judges and other top officials, which undermines the independence of these institutions. Over the years, the Constitution has been amended multiple times to serve the interests of the ruling regime, including the extension of presidential terms and the weakening of checks on executive power. This has left a legacy of institutional instability and limited public trust in the political system. Experts argue that a complete overhaul of the Gambian constitution is crucial for the country's democratic consolidation. Legal scholars at the University of the Gambia have stressed that the current constitution is inadequate for the country's post-dictatorship era and maintains too many remnants of authoritarianism. Other experts advocate for the inclusion of stronger provisions for the separation of powers, presidential term limits, and more effective mechanisms for government accountability. Efforts to draft a new constitution in 2020 aim to address these shortcomings by introducing democratic reforms, but political maneuvering, particularly from President Barrow's administration, has stalled the process. Analysts argue that without a comprehensive constitutional reform, the Gambia risks repeating the cycle of autocratic rule that marked much of its post-independence history. Public opinion in the Gambia was also largely in favor of the draft constitution, with polls indicating strong support for term limits and greater checks on presidential power. According to a survey by Afrobarometer, over 80% of Gambians backed the introduction of a two-term limit for the presidency, reflecting widespread frustration with entrenched leadership. Despite this, political divisions and strategic voting in the National Assembly reflected the growing influence of President Barrow's National People's Party and his allies, who prioritized their political survival over constitutional reform. The rejection of the draft constitution illustrated a broader pattern in which political elites, including Barrow, resisted reforms that would limit their power. In the aftermath of the draft constitution's failure, the Gambia continues to navigate the delicate balance between democratic progress and political inertia. President Barrow's actions have raised concerns about the country's future trajectory, with critics accusing him of steering the country toward a new era of authoritarianism. As of 2023, there is no clear pathway for reviving the constitutional reform process, and Barrow's government has shown little interest in pursuing substantial changes that would curb executive power. This has led to fears that the Gambia may face continued political instability and setbacks in its democratization efforts. Despite the hopeful momentum following the end of Jammeh's regime, and now a constitutional coup in the making. If Adama Barrow decides not to run, it could reduce tensions and provide a political impetus for restarting the transition. However, such a decision would require Barrow to select a successor, which is what's on Adama Barrow's table as a concrete possibility. This would no doubt spark divisions in the NPP and among allies who may either have presidential ambitions or favor particular individuals based on their interests. Nevertheless, another Barrow run would certainly deepen tensions and enrage, creating political problems that could require an economic community of West African states intervention, as happened during the December 2016 and January 2017 post-election crisis, where we have seen the ECOMIG forces coming into the Gambia on a peacekeeping mission and enforcement of the political will or decision of the Gambians. But what is actually going on right now in the Gambia that points to the direction of a constitutional coup? Let's take a look. But first, this is a humble request to please like this video and subscribe to the African Pacific YouTube channel, a Gambian-owned channel looking into the happenings of the motherland that are often ignored by mainstream media. Please show your support by liking and subscribing. Thank you so much. For starters, let's make this clear, and perhaps you would agree that if you believe you have done most of the right things as a president to better the lives of your citizens, you wouldn't need to stretch your hands in a bid to grab the Constitution and fine-tune it to become your saving grace. But if you find yourself wanting to change the Constitution of the land in your favor, then there is something wrong. To put it more explicitly, the Gambian government spearheaded by Barrow has failed the Gambian people with endless political perjury and economic inertia. He has done relatively very small for the Gambia, with a couple of bridges engorged by overinflated construction budgets like the Senegambia Bridge and the OIC Summit, which was a disaster riddled with all forms of theft of the OIC funds together with fiscal mismanagement. Now he wants to tamper with the Constitution of the Gambia, as he had attempted in 2020. According to the information we have received from the NPP camp, Barrow's ultimate goal is to see in the Gambian Constitution something we have never seen before. He wants to see that the Gambian Constitution protects top government officials by not holding them accountable after leaving office. Sources from the NPP senior members indicate that the president wants to be protected after leaving office, which will see him lawfully live in the Gambia without any form of reckoning or digging into his past dealings. This in itself raises suspicions, confirming the enormous damage Barrow has caused. He has been embroiled in a plethora of colossal damage during his reign we have never seen in previous regimes. Just to mention a few, these include widespread poverty largely due to simultaneous tax increments forcing tens of thousands of Gambians into poverty, plunging the country into a catastrophic debt crisis in just 9 years in office, completely disregarding the lives of patients at Gambian hospitals who lack basic care, but instead decided to invest in his political aspirations, as if Gambian lives don't matter, and most of all, completely ignoring justice and accountability, just to mention a few. Would it not make sense for him to try and plot a constitutional coup by changing the Constitution for his protection? Comment down below. In conclusion, the Constitution of Gambia doesn't belong to Barrow, neither does it belong to his father or was composed by his father. It shouldn't be tampered with by an individual solely for his or her interest. We hereby condemn this act in the strongest terms possible and call on Gambians to wake up and choose their leaders wisely. Choose vision over cluelessness, choose literate over ignorance, and above all, choose for your future generations instead of your present generation. This is the end of this video. Please like and share with as many Gambians as possible to create the ultimate awakening, or else your future generations will wish they were not from the Gambia. Thanks for watching and stay safe.